All right, shalom, shalom. Just make sure we sound good here. All right, that's coming in pretty good. All right, shalom. First and foremost, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakak, Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopeful elect, the tabernacle of David, beginning with the 144,000, and the rest of the men, women, and children out of the 12 tribes whom Yahweh Bashem will have mercy upon. I'm your brother Matizatbath from the branch of the Great Millstone here in Melbourne, Australia. And I wanted to do a lesson going into the book of Tobit, chapter 4, verse 12. All right. And the spirit hopped on me to do this lesson in particular was the fact that this particular precept always gets thrown out of context. And you have a lot of people, especially Israelites, who are Torah based only Israelites, as they like to call themselves, will use this particular precept to substantiate their claim that you, being an Israelite man, are only supposed to marry within your own seed line or your own tribe. All right. And if you understand the scriptures, all right, the difference between marrying another nation and dealing with a woman from another nation, all right, specifically came down to what we were allowed to do in terms of when we receive a woman from the other nation, from the captive, all right, versus you taking on that woman and her customs, all right, and everything that comes with that from her nation of people. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give the correct understanding dealing with Tobit, the 4th chapter and the 12th verse, and Lord's will, this will be edifying. Now, when we deal with this particular chapter, all right, let's start off here. The one thing you're going to notice is really this was going into the inheritance. All right. So what we'll do, we'll start at the top. All right. So you can get the context. Tobit chapter 4 and verse 1, which says, "And that day Tobit remembered the money which he had committed to Gabiel in rages of Media, and said with himself, I have wished for death. Wherefore do I not call for my son Tobias, that I may signify to him of the money before I die?" All right. Now, Tobias was the son of Tobit. And when he had called him, he said, "My son, when I am dead, bury me and despise not thy mother, but honor her all the days of thy life, and do that which shall please her and grieve her not. Remember, my son, that she saw many dangers for thee when thou wast in her womb, and when she is dead, bury her by me in one grave. My son, be mindful of the Lord our power all thy days, and let not thy will be set to sin or to transgress his commandments. Do uprightly all thy life long, and follow not the ways of unrighteousness. For if thou deal truly, thy doing shall prosperly succeed to thee and to all them that live justly." Right. So it goes on to say, um, it says, "Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let thine eye be envious." Or Salaki, let me read that again. Verse 7, "Give alms of thy substance, and when thou givest alms, let not thine eye be envious, and neither turn thy face from any poor, or Salakia, and the face of the Most High shall not be turned away from thee. And if thou hast abundance, give alms accordingly. If thou have been, or Salakia, if thou have but a little, be not afraid to give according to that little. For thou layest up a good treasure for thyself against the day of necessity. And because that alms do deliver from death, and suffereth not to come into darkness. For alms is a good gift unto all that give it in the sight of the Most High." All right. And here's the main point, verse 12. It says, "Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. For we are the children of the prophets Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. All right. Now, therefore, my son, love thy brethren, and despise not in thy heart thy brethren, the sons and daughters of thy people, and not taking a wife of them. For in pride is destruction, and much trouble, and lewdness is decay, and great want, for lewdness is the mother of famine. So we have to understand why, all right, Tobias' father Tobit told him to not take a heathen woman, but to take a wife of thy fathers. And once again, unfortunately, you have a lot of people that'll bring out this precept to substantiate their claim that Israelite men should stay away from the heathen woman. They're not allowed to be with a heathen woman. All right. And to shut all of that down, that's not what the scriptures is going into. Right now, what we need to do, all right, we have to pick out some words here. We have to help get the understanding as to why. Now, the first part in this verse 12, where it says, beware of all whoredom. Let's stop right there. Why did he tell his son Tobias that? Because you have to understand the history of the of what our nation of people have dealt with, going all the way back to the sons of God in Genesis, the 6th chapter. All right, which, matter of fact, let me open up another tab here, Salakia, and let's visit that. All right, so that you can get the understanding. Let's go to Genesis, the 6th chapter, really quickly. All right, because before, all right, we were called the Israelites. We were known as the sons of God before the flood. All right, out of the Adamites. This is Genesis 6:1. And it came to pass, when men began to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born unto them, that the sons of God, all right, now for those of you who are new, when it speaks about the sons of God, it's not literally talking about celestial angels, but in this context, it's speaking of the sons of Seth. All right, and you can get that in Luke, the 3rd chapter, and also Genesis, the 5th chapter. All right, they were known as the sons of the living power. So Genesis 6:2 says again that the sons of the Most High saw the daughters of men, that they were fair. All right, they look good, right? And they took them wives of all which they chose. And Yahweh said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he is also flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years old, right? So verse 4, there were giants in the earth in those days, all right, meaning the fallen ones. All right, when you go into the word giants is Nephal, and then when you go into the root etymology, I believe it goes back to Nepal, which simply means to fall. All right, it says, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, all right, so when the descendants of Seth took on the daughters of the other nations, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. All right. It says, and the Most High Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Yeah, because there's a precept. Let me see if I can type that in. I believe it's the book of Proverbs, real quick. All right. Proverbs 16:25. It says, there is a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. And during that time, what happened when the sons of God got with the women of the other nations? They took on their ways, they took on their customs. All right, they started going and following after their lust of their own heart, going into the worship of idols, idolatry. Okay, which the scriptures tells you. All right, let me see if I can grab this here. Let's open up another tab. And let's get, if we can, Wisdom of Solomon, the 14th chapter. All right. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14. And let's see, right around verse 27, it says, for the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. All right. because really this goes back to the beginning, man. All right. And by beginning, meaning it goes all the way back to when um Eve, all right, was beguiled by the serpent in the garden when she took on the ways and the customs of the other nations around. Okay. So you have to understand that. But nevertheless, so coming back here, all right, that's one example where Tobit told his son Tobias to beware of all whoredom. All right, because what's another example of our nation, all right, committing or going a whoring after other gods? Let's come over here and let's get Jeremiah chapter 3, and I'm gonna start at the top. The main point is at verse 2. It says, they say, if a man put away his wife and she go from him and become another man's, shall he return unto her again? Shall not that land be greatly polluted? But thou hast played the harlot with many lovers. All right, speaking of the whole nation of Israel. Yet return again unto me, saith Yahweh. So the Heavenly Father was referencing at this point in time that the whole nation of Israel, because remember, the nation of Israel is likened unto a comely, delicate woman. That's in Jeremiah, the 6th chapter. And he referenced the nation of Israel to being a harlot because we went a whoring after other gods. And it's going to tell you in the very next verse. It says, verse 2, lift up thine eyes unto the high places and see where thou hast not been lying with. In the ways hast thou sat for them, as the Arabian in the wilderness, and thou hast polluted the land with thy whoredoms and with thy wickedness. Let's pull out this word, if we can, real quick. All right. And let's see what that comes up to.
Strong's H 2184. Zenuth.
Okay, so it says fornication, harlotry, from the outline of biblical usage. And the Strong's definition here says adultery, i.e., figuratively, infidelity, idolatry, whoredom. All right. And you have something that's called spiritual fornication, which means you commit spiritual adultery by going after worshiping other gods and false idols. All right. And so that's what our nation of people did. Now, let's get another, let's see here. Let's get another example if I can. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 106. And I'm going to start at verse 34. The point is at verse 39. It says, they did not destroy the nations concerning whom the Lord Yahweh commanded them, but were mingled among the heathen and learned their works. And they served their idols, which were a snare unto them. You see that? Going after those other idols, it became a snare. And so it says, verse 37, yea, they sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils and shed innocent blood, even the blood of their sons and of their daughters, whom they sacrificed unto the idols of Canaan, and the land was polluted with blood. Thus were they defiled with their own works and went a whoring with their own inventions. All right, let's look up that word, a whoring. All right. Let's get a whoring, if we can, right here, Salakia.
Strong's H 2181. Zana.
All right. And it says here to commit fornication, be an harlot, play the harlot. All right. To be a harlot, act as a harlot, commit fornication, to commit adultery, to be a cult prostitute, to be unfaithful to the Most High. And that's what we were as a nation. Okay. To play the harlot, to cause, commit adultery, Salakia, to force into prostitution, to commit fornication. You pretty much get the point. It says here, check this out, Strong's definition, a primitive root, highly fed and therefore wanton, to commit adultery, usually of the female and less often of simple fornication, rarely of involuntary ravishment, figuratively to commit adultery, the Israelite people being regarded as the spouse of Yahweh, calls to commit a fornication, continually great, be, and play the harlot, calls to be, play the whore, commit, fall to whoredom, calls to go a whoring, whorish. Okay. And once again, when you come full circle to understand the history of what our people played, that's the reason why we're in this predicament that we're in today, being in our last captivity, because we were disobedient. All right. And when you understand the law, let's go to Exodus, the 20th chapter. All right. What did the Heavenly Father tell us through Moses at the beginning? Okay. Exodus 21, and the Most High Yahweh spake all these words, saying, I am Yahweh thy power, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Okay. That was the first commandment. It says, thou shalt not make unto thee any graving image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. And thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh, thy power, am a jealous power, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Because ultimately, let's get Psalms 96. All right. And I believe it's the fourth verse, if I'm not mistaken, or it could be the fifth verse. Right. Psalms 96 and 5, it says, for all the gods of the nations are idols, but Yahweh made the heavens. All right. And so with our power being a jealous power, man, okay, we went a whoring, okay, after these other nations. All right. So let's come back over here and let's go back to Psalms 106. All right. So let me read that again. Psalms 106 and 39. Thus were they defiled with their own works and went a whoring with their own inventions. All right. And that's exactly what happened to us, because we were told or given specific instructions when it was time for us to enter into the land of Canaan, which now today is known as Israel, or the land of Palestine. So this is Deuteronomy 7 and 1. It says, when Yahweh thy power shall bring thee into the land whither thou goest to possess it, and hath cast out many nations before thee, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than thou. And when the Lord Yahweh thy power shall deliver them before thee, thou shalt smite them and utterly destroy them. Thou shalt make no covenant with them, no sort of binding agreement, nor show mercy unto them. All right. Because in an example of this, well, you know what? I don't want to give it away. Let's keep reading because it'll explain itself. It says, verse 3, neither shalt thou make marriages with them. Thy daughter thou shalt not give unto his son, nor his daughter shalt thou take unto thy son. Now, the question you got to ask yourself is, why was this stated? Well, the very next verse tells you why. Verse 4, for they will turn away thy son from following me, that they may serve other gods. So will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy thee suddenly. All right. And that was the whole reason why, dealing with mainly these particular nations. It was really dealing with the nations that come from Ham, because Ham was known being a nation, lawlessness, committing all type of abominable acts. Okay. So, but what, Jake fails to read, because they don't like reading. If they would have read the very next verse 5, it says, but thus shall ye deal with them. Ye shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graving images with fire. You see? So to give you an example of that, let's go to Judges, the 2nd chapter, dealing with Rahab. All right. Who was a Canaan. I think she was a Canaanite, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, not Judges, Joshua, Salakia for that. Joshua, the second chapter. All right. So let me just get to the point. Um, let me see here. Let me find it real quick. Because when the spies came out to spy the land, she ended up helping them. All right. The promise to Rahab, Joshua 2:15. Then she let them down by a cord through the window, for her house was upon the town wall, and she dwelt upon the wall. And she said unto them, Get you to the mountain, lest the pursuers meet you, and hide yourselves hide yourselves there 3 days until the pursuers be returned, and afterward may ye go your way. And the men said unto her, We will be blameless of this thine oath, which thou hast made us swear. Behold, when we come into the land, thou shalt bind this line of scarlet thread in the window which thou didst let us down by, and thou shalt bring thy father and thy mother and thy brethren and all thy father's house home unto thee. And it shall be that whosoever shall go out of the doors of thy house into the street, his blood shall be upon his head, and we will be guiltless. And whosoever shall be with thee in the house, his blood shall be on our head, if any hand be upon him. And if thou utter this our business, then we will be quit of thine oath, which thou hast made us to swear. And she said, According to unto your words, so be it. And she sent them away, and they departed, and she bound the scarlet line in the window. Right now, the point that I want to bring out is because at the end of the day, let me see if it's in the next. I don't think it is, but let me see. Nah, but the point is, she ended up being looked after when they came and took over the land, because when you get Matthew, the first chapter, all right, who does she marry? All right. Matthew 1:5. And Salmon, who was an Israelite, all right, begat Boaz Rahab. You see that? And I did a lesson the other day going into a mamzer. So if the Lord wasn't down with the nations, all right, or sorry, let me say that again. If Yahweh Bashim Yahushua wasn't down with the Israelites taking on the women of the other nations, why did he allow Salmon to go into Rahab, who was a Canaanite? That would mean that Boaz or Salmon's line, he would have been corrupted. Same thing when you keep reading, it says, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, because Ruth was a Moabite. All right. And this is the reason why the scripture says you have to study to show thyself approved. Now, ultimately, when we deal with this, when you go back to Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, what did it say? It says, but thus shall ye deal with them, meaning if you're going to deal with the other nations, ye shall destroy their altars, break down their images, and cut down their groves, and burn their gravy images with fire. Why? So that it doesn't become a snare or a trap unto you. That was the whole point of the matter. Okay? Because anytime we got around the other nations, they ultimately became a snare and a trap. And that's what, happened with when you get the account in Ezra, the 9th chapter, and also Nehemiah, the 13th chapter. It wasn't the fact that the Israelites took on the heathen women. It was the fact that the children, they were taking on the likeness and the customs of the women who the Israelite men married. That was the problem. Okay. And it's very important you understand that. So let's come back over here. And I'm going to read this again, Tobit 4:12. So it says, beware of all whoredom. All right. That's the first part. My son, and chiefly take a wife of the seed of thy fathers, and take not a strange woman to wife, which is not of thy father's tribe. All right. Now, why did it say which is not of thy father's tribe? Because ultimately, all right, this is going into the inheritance. It says, for we are the children of the prophets, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married wives of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So now let's take a little detour. Let's come over here to Tobit chapter 3. And we're going to start at verse 7 on down. All right. Because now you have to understand the context behind that particular precept in chapter 4. So Tobit chapter 3, verse 7. And it came to pass the same day that in Ecbatane, a city of Medea, Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, was also reproached by her father's maids, because that she had been married to 7 husbands, whom as Modius, the evil spirit, had killed before they had lain with her. Dost thou not know, said they, that thou hast strangled thy husbands? Thou hast had already 7 husbands, and neither wast thou named after any of them. Wherefore dost thou beat us for them? If they be dead, go thy ways after them. Let us never see of thee either son or daughter. When she heard these things, she was very sorrowful, so that she thought to have strangled herself. So she pretty much wanted to kill herself, all right, because throughout all those men that she was tied to, she couldn't complete or consecrate the marriage because that evil spirit would take away their life. So it says, when she heard these things, she was very sorrowful, so that she thought to have strangled herself. And she said, I am the only daughter of my father. And if I do this, it shall be a reproach unto him, and I shall bring his old age with sorrow unto the grave. Right. Because you have to understand our custom. Number one, we have something that was called the kinsman redeemer. If a man didn't have a seed, all right, to pass the inheritance down, all right, and let's say he passed away, if he had a brother, the brother was allowed to take his wife, all right, if she was still alive, that is, and to go in unto her to bring up seed. But also, if you were a dad and let's say you didn't have a son, but you had a daughter, right? Let's get this here. Let's come over here and let's go to what is it? Sirach chapter 7, real quick. All right, and right around verse 25, it says, Sirach 7:25, marry thy daughter, and so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter, but give her to a man of understanding. All right, not just any man, but a man of understanding, which ultimately goes into an Israelite man. Okay, because the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding was given to the sons of Israel. Okay, that's also in the Apocrypha in the book of Sirach. All right, which ultimately goes back to Deuteronomy 23, dealing with a mamzer, which goes into incest or illegitimate child, because an Israelite woman cannot be with a heathen man. Okay, and remember the scripture says in Ecclesiastes, the 3rd chapter, that I have seen men that are like it unto beast. All right. So you have to understand that. So this would have been as an Israelite father, this, to marry off your daughter, you have performed a weighty matter. So she understood, coming back over here, that if she was just to, take herself because of, all the suffering and sorrow that she went through, that will be to, no point of helping her father. Right. So it goes on to say, Tobit 3:11, then she prayed toward the window and said, blessed art thou, O Lord, my power, and thy holy and glorious name is blessed and honorable forever. Let all thy works praise thee forever. And now, O Lord, I set my eyes and face toward thee and say, take me out of the earth, that I may hear no more the reproach. Thou knowest, Lord, that I am pure from all sin with man, and that I never polluted my name nor the name of my father, all right, in the land of my captivity. I am the only daughter of my father, neither have he any child to be his heir. You see, neither any near kinsman, nor any son of his alive, to whom I may keep myself for a wife. My 7 husbands are already dead, and why should I live? But if it please not thee that I should die, command some regard to be had of me, and pity taken of me, that I hear no more reproach. All right. It says, so the prayers of them both were heard before the majesty of the great power. And Raphael was sent to heal them both, that is, to scale away the whiteness of Tobit's eyes, and to give Sarah, the daughter of Raguel, for a wife to Tobias, the son of Tobit, and to bind Asmodeus, the evil spirit, because she belonged to Tobias by right of inheritance. That's what it was about. It wasn't a fact that, oh, you can't be with a heathen woman. You got to stick to a woman your own tribe. Well, why is that? You have to understand what was the history dealing with the inheritance within the nation of Israel. Let's come over here real quick to the book of Numbers, chapter 36, and we're going to start at verse 6. It says, "This is the thing which Yahweh doth command concerning the daughters of Zelophehad, saying, let them marry to whom they think best, but only to the family of the tribe of their father shall they marry. So shall not the inheritance of the children of Israel remove from tribe to tribe. For every one of the children of Israel shall keep himself to the inheritance of the tribe of his fathers." It says, "And every daughter that possesseth an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be wife unto one of the family of the tribe of her father, that the children of Israel may enjoy every man the inheritance of his fathers." You see? It says, "Neither shall the inheritance remove from one tribe to another tribe, but every one of the tribes of the children of Israel shall keep himself to his own inheritance." And that's what it was about. You see? So now with Tobit, when you get the understanding, Tobit was of the tribe of Naphtali, right? Now let's come over here, all right, to Tobit chapter 6. And let's see here. I'm going to start at verse 14. It says, "And now I am the only son of my father, and I am afraid lest if I go in unto her, I die." All right, because he heard about how the 7 other men that were betrothed unto her, that evil spirit took them out. So this is Tobias speaking. It says, "As the other before, for a wicked spirit loveth her, which hurteth nobody, but those which come unto her. Wherefore I also fear lest I die, and bring my father's and my mother's life because of me to the grave with sorrow, for they have no other son to bury them." Then the angel said unto him, "Dost thou not remember the precepts which thy father gave thee, that thou shouldest marry a wife of thine own kindred? Wherefore hear me, O my brother, for she shall be given thee to wife, and make thou no reckoning of the evil spirit, for this same night shall she be given thee in marriage. And when thou shalt come into the marriage chamber, thou shalt take the ashes of the perfume, and shalt lay upon them some of the heart and liver of the fish, and shalt make a smoke of it," right? And let me see here, because I might have. All right, Salakia. Let me start up. I have to start up. So let's start here. Verse 10. It says, "The angel said to the young man," this is still Tobit chapter 6, but we start at verse 10. It says, "The angel said to the young man, Brother, today we shall lodge with Raguel, who is thy cousin. He also have one only daughter named Sarah. I will speak for her, that she may be given thee for a wife. For to thee do the right of her appertain, seeing thou only art of her kindred. And the maid is fair and wise. Now therefore hear me, and I will speak to her father. And when we return from rages, we will celebrate the marriage. For I know that Raguel cannot marry her to another according to the law of Moses, but he shall be guilty of death, because the right of inheritance doth rather appertain to thee than to any other." That's what it was about. Okay. So in essence, Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12, it had nothing to do with the fact that you were only bound to marry, all right, of your own kindred. No, that was speaking of an inheritance. All right, because according to the law, let's come back over here and let's go to Deuteronomy, the 21st chapter. All right, this is very simple. All right, dealing with domestic relations. Now, this is in the law. Deuteronomy 21 and 10, it says, "When thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and Yahweh thy power have delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives, all right, of the other nations, a beautiful woman, and hast a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife, then thou shalt bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and par her nails, and she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her clothes, and shall remain in thine house and bewail her father and her mother a full month. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife, which in this case she'll be considered a lesser wife, which is a concubine, right? Verse 14. And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will, but thou shalt not sell her at all for money. Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her. So why would it tell you in one aspect in the law that when you take down your other enemies, all right, of the other heathen nations, but amongst them you see a beautiful woman that you want to have to yourself, you can take her? But yet in Tobit, the fourth chapter, they want to use that precept at the 12th verse to substantiate their claim that, see, you can only deal with the woman of the Israelite nation. You can't deal with any woman. You got to stick to your own kindred. That makes absolutely no sense. Okay, because even a future prophecy, let's get Isaiah the 14th chapter and we'll close out here. This is Isaiah 14:1. It says, for the Lord Yahweh will have mercy on Jacob and will yet choose Israel and set them in their own land. And the strangers, meaning the Israelite foreigners, shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. Right? But here's the point, verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them, meaning the other heathen nations, in the land of Yahweh for what? Servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors. Now, interestingly enough, if you look up the word handmaids here, all right, all right,
Strong's H 8198. Shifcha. Shifcha.
okay. Now, outline of biblical usage says maid or maid servant, slave girl, maid servant as belonging to a mistress, of address, speaker, humility, right? But here in the Strong's definition, okay, it says feminine from an unused root, meaning to spread out as a family, a female slave as a member of the household, bond, handmaid, servant, wench, bondwoman, woman servant. But in the Brown Driver Briggs lexicon, right, it says maid servant, which see originally concubine. And how do we know that? Because notice here in the Strong's definition, it says wench, right? Now, when you look up, let's just do this. Let's go to Etum Online. And let's put in wench to see what comes up. All right. Now it says here, wench, late 13th century, girl, young woman, especially if unmarried, also female infant, wench, child. Let's see here, unsteady, fickle, weak, right? Here we go. In the Middle English, occasionally with disparaging suggestion and secondary sense of concubine. You see, it says strumpet is attested by mid 14th century, also serving maid, bondwoman, young woman of a humble class. Now, the so-called black woman today, for those of you who don't know, all right, she used to be called a bed wench. Let's look that up. All right. Let me see here. All right. Bed wench, a low status concubine. All right. So it says here, bed wench definition, a low status concubine, often a slave or captive, so-called African-American vernacular bed wench, woman who dates a so-called white man or white people, often accused of seeking privileges. And this is the term that they put on the so-called black woman during the time of slavery. Okay. You was Esau's bed wench. You was his concubine. So how much more the other nations in the kingdom? And you can be butthurt all you want to. This is in the scriptures, man. All right. Learn how to look up your words. So that's pretty much on that. All right. I just wanted to, go into Tobit 4 and 12 just to clarify some things and give the correct understanding. So now when somebody tries to come at you using this precept to say that an Israelite man, all right, is supposed to only marry within his nation of people, well, you have to qualify what you're saying. Yes, we are to marry our own nation. We are not to marry into the sons or daughters of the other nations, but you can take the daughters of the other nations as concubines. To marry into them is another way of saying that you make an oath or a covenant, because what tends to happen is when you make a covenant with that heathen woman's family, you start to take on their likeness, their customs. Pretty soon you'll start to worship their gods, their idols. Okay. That's why the Lord says specifically in Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter, that thus, if you do decide to deal with them, what's the first thing you got to do? You got to shut everything down, take away their groves, take away their idols, right? It's the same thing when Jacob, let me see if I can find that precept. Let me see, put away idols. Let me see. I know it's Genesis, but let me see, put off. Let me see. Salakia, bear with me. Okay. Let me type in. See if I can find this precept real quick. Because you had Laban when he went after. Yep, Genesis 31. Genesis chapter 31. And let me see. Let me see. Salakia, let me just find it real quick. It might be in a previous chapter. Here it is right here. Genesis 35. The water Yahweh Bashmel Shai. All right. So Jacob returns to Bethel. Genesis 35:1. Then the Most High said to Jacob, arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar to there to the Most High, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother. And Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, put away the foreign gods that are among you, purify yourselves and change your garments. You see? Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to the Most High, who answered me in the day of my distress and has been with me in the way which I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods which were in their hands and the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree, which was by Shechem. You see? So even Jacob, when he dealt with them, he told them, put away your idols, man. Purify yourself, cleanse yourself. And ultimately, that's what we were to do when we dealt with the other women of these other nations. We were to purify ourselves, man. Okay. That's all that's saying. So hopefully, this gives much clear understanding on that particular topic, dealing with Tobit chapter 4 and verse 12. And I pray that this lesson was edifying. So with all that, giving all praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakat Kodash, and double honors, Salakia, to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, better known as GMS, who rule well. Peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect, the tabernacle of David. I'm your brother Montezabot. Lord's will, this was edifying. Let's on to the next. Shalom.